That's not the game we want from you, but we still want to be somebody who's trying new things. And that was a very difficult development on that game to get it where it was. And we were ready for, you know, a lot of those difficulties ended up on the screen, and we knew, hey, look, this is not the type of game that people are used to from us, and we're going to get some criticism on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that very well-deserved criticism, right?
Yeah.
You would say, look, this isn't, you know, high Metacritic game. That's not what this is, given what it is. But we felt strongly this is a game we want to play. This is something we really want to do. And all of the games like this, whether it's us or somebody else, you can go back and look at them. There's a period once you launch. It's not how you launch, it's what it becomes. And you know, can't be prouder of the team that's worked on it. They've worked tirelessly, and it's really turned around. It's a fabulous game and an incredible community around it. There's a period once you launch. It's not how you launch, it's what it becomes.
Well, here we are, playing ping pong when we ought to be working. Here's our ball, volleying back and forth. One free ball, plus one net, courtesy of a local CATV station. Here's my partner, Bill, and I. We're going to play ping pong for you in a minute, but before we do it...
For as far back as anyone watching this can remember, video games have meant more than one thing. In their infancy, video games were mere technology striving for an audience to embrace them. It was during this time that we truly knew what video games meant. However, in today's world, video games are a battle for profit and nothing more. It wasn't always this way though. So let's attempt to look back at what video games once were, and subsequently, what they have become. In order to explore topics such as this, I feel we should define what video games are. So, what is a video game? The Cambridge Dictionary defines video games as a game in which the player controls moving pictures on the television screen by pressing buttons or moving a short handle. While this is true, as stated before, video games are so much more. Video games can be art, a beautiful canvas on which artists we refer to as developers paint their ideas for us to then partake in. More so than anything, I believe, is that video games are a means of escape. So I think it's fair to ask, why do video game publishers want to sell us what was once free? Like most products, video games in the 80s and 90s, much like today, needed to be made for profit. A vital part in maintaining the industry itself is to generate self-sustaining profit. Through supply and demand, the video game industry, much like any other, would ensure its own survival. Unlike the 80s and 90s though, video games today seem to be made solely for profit. Furthermore, video game companies seek to now profit from selling content, unilateral economics, licensing, and time, rather than selling actual games.
Kill your cravings at the Circus of Values!
In 1989, my dad took me to a downtown Miami store, where he purchased a Nintendo Entertainment System for me. From that day on, I realized that a video game was an all-encompassing world, a place of escape and magic, much like an excellent book. Super Mario and his brother Luigi facing down the forces of evil, and it was my job to help them. In coming up with ideas for this video, I thought for a moment, what if Nintendo had wanted 99 cents for Luigi? Sure, it would have been outrageous in the late 80s, but the bigger thought to me was, what would the game be like without Luigi? The kingdom lies in he who controls the content, and he who controls the content is king. Today, no matter what fighting game you buy, you'll most likely be asked to purchase a season pass. Alternatively, you can purchase single fighters to so-called offset the cost. Such was the case with the recent installment of Soul Calibur 6. In 1989, you could buy the original Soul Calibur, complete and with all characters, for $49.99. Comparatively speaking, Soul Calibur 6 sold for more and relegated once mainstay characters such as THUR to what was then seen as must-have DLC. Stop for a minute and imagine your favorite characters in a video game suddenly gone. I'm sure a lot of us don't have to, as today's standard industry practice is to shortchange the customer while maximizing profits. So you see, the kingdom is now for sale, and in some cases to the highest bidder. So just how does the king sell his kingdom?
Come back when you get some money, buddy.
These days, game developers and publishers take the time to establish a sort of unilateral economy specific to their game, plug out the missing content, and then attempt to sell it back to us, the consumers. Older games with in-game economies never really asked for real-world currency. Modern video games such as Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, and really any major sports title all ask for real-world money. When you own the kingdom, you control the prices. If this is the case, how do you get the peasants to buy in? Simply put, you make it seem affordable, you make it seem new. You can even allude that your product is unattainable by mere mortals. Most importantly, you should make it appear fair, but necessary. In-game economies may seem like the worst of these problems, but to me, it's a symptom of the major issue.
No refunds, no returns.
In the modern age of gaming, companies have found bold new ways to charge the consumer while making it seem advantageous. All digital software has licensing now. Even the discs are encoded with license agreements. Most game companies sell licensed software to the consumer through the guise of anti-piracy and convenience. If these licenses are locked, revoked, or simply fail to work, then you no longer have a game. In contrast, cartridges contained some form of anti-piracy and neither hindered your gameplay or rendered the game unplayable. Like a slow and methodical game of chess, these companies have conditioned us to accept this. And it is only now that we are at our most vocal. Despite all this, the real problem with games being made for profit still eludes most of us.
Hey, I've got a family to feed.
With all this negative talk about gaming, one might think there were no positives. To the contrary, games now look better, are louder, faster, and most important of all, last longer. Mega Man 2, if played with few mistakes, can be beaten in about 3 hours. Whereas games like Nier Automata can take upwards of 50 hours and multiple playthroughs to truly complete. So very few people will complain about the length of games these days. However, it is in that fact that most publishers launch our biggest problems with games for profit. Your time is now being sold back to you for profit. Modern games like Shadow of War deliberately take out content, then create an economy where it appears you need to buy back your time through the guise of experience points. By the same token, Call of Duty games sell virtual currency only valuable in their imaginary economy, relegated to 1 game per year. Fans of those games spend almost a full year playing, only to have a new game emerge, which starts the eating of precious time all over again. If we can agree that time is the one thing you can't get back, then I think it's safe to say that time is too valuable to keep buying back from companies who give us very little in exchange.
For me, which is if you look at a Skyrim and Fallout 4, those things, the amount of people that play those games still is, I mean, you can look it up on this. It's staggering.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of people every month playing those games, and we have no touch point with them. Right? It's just like we ship the game, we do some mod stuff, but here you go. And so 76 was also, we need to learn how to be engaging and being able to update and see what players are doing and like be more engaged in that experience than 0, right? So
I know most of you who made it to this point are thinking, so what now? How do we stop game companies from making games for profit? Well, I'm different than most in that I think I have a solution. It's nothing new though. You ready? Stop buying the BS. Stop pre-ordering. Stop day one purchasing. And start doing due diligence. See, like I said, nothing new. To stop video game publishers from giving us games like Anthem that cut content, don't buy it. To reduce the number of games like Destiny that have crappy in-game economies, don't pre-order. Lastly, if we all want a better game next year that won't steal our time like Call of Duty 4, then don't buy this year's version. We must become vigilant with our dollars and time. Parents should become interested in what their children play to ensure the economy isn't taking advantage of them. You see, the ugly truth is, it's up to us to stop what's already here. And by doing that, we can stop video games from being sold for profit.
Is there a strategy for kind of getting over that, shaking the reputation that it got at launch and kind of winning people back over?
I think, well, there's no strategy other than just keep making the game better. And people who play it and they'll come back. And it was, by the way, it's been very popular, right? So
yeah.
It was a huge release for us. The community around it's really, really strong. Obviously, it got a lot of criticism and stories, and we see all that. And it's not, you don't want to read that, but it is what it is. And again, we deserved a lot of that. So it's just working the issues. Like, hey, what do the consumers want? What do we want? How do we get there? This is a very long tale for us in this game, and there's some awesome stuff coming this year that I think people are going to see at E3 and be hopefully very excited.
Hello everyone,